When the Harris campaign launched, they got great traction by calling Trump and Vance weird. That was good. Weird was working. People are tired of weird, and ever since Donald Trump decided to dominate our fucking lives, the Democrats' argument has been, we'll restore normal. Well, if what you're selling is let's be normal again, here's an idea. Be normal.
Let's talk about one of the strangest tricks in modern politics. How a party can loudly claim it stands for calm, stability, and normal, while repeatedly behaving in ways that feel anything but normal to the public. Yes, politics has always been chaotic. No argument there. But if you're campaigning as a responsible adult in the room, you can't keep acting like you're showing up to a school meeting ready to cause a scene. You can't promise order and then deliver constant confusion, drama, and headline-grabbing behavior that makes people nervous instead of reassured. Voters notice that gap, and it sticks in their minds. So if you're interested in honest, no-nonsense breakdowns of how this plays out and why it matters, do me a favor. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. This conversation isn't cooling down anytime soon, and let's be real. The comment section.
Looting was rebranded as justice shopping. We stopped arresting shoplifters. Anti-racist baby was a bestseller. Corporations took DEI to ludicrous lengths. We opened our hearts to all who wanted to come here, and then also our borders.
This whole debate really took off when the Kamala Harris campaign started using the word weird to describe Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And honestly, it landed. It worked because it struck the right tone. It wasn't loud moral outrage or dramatic finger-pointing. It was a simple, almost casual reaction that sounded like a regular person saying, "Why do you act like this?" That's why it connected. It was easy to understand, easy to share, and easy to laugh at. It didn't need a long explanation or a policy slideshow to make sense. After years of non-stop political drama, people are worn out, and calling the chaos weird felt like an adult quietly rolling their eyes at a circus and choosing not to engage. A lot of people related to that feeling, because exhaustion is something nearly everyone shares right now. But this is where things get more complicated. If your entire message is built around the idea that you will bring things back to normal, then your responsibility is very clear. You have to actually behave like a normal, steady alternative. You can't sell calm and common sense while approving actions that make everyday people stop and say, "Wait, that's real? That actually happened." You can't claim to be the sensible option while pushing ideas that feel extreme or disconnected from real life. There's a contradiction there that voters notice. You can't be the party that says it's grounded and practical, while also treating certain words as serious harm, but struggling to clearly address real-world violence. If your promise is normalcy, then consistency matters, because once people see the gap between what you say and what you do, the whole message starts.
When the Harris campaign launched, they got great traction by calling Trump and Vance weird. That was good. Weird was working. People are tired of weird, and ever since Donald Trump decided to dominate our fucking lives, the Democrats' argument has been, we'll restore normal. Well, if what you're selling is let's be normal again, here's an idea. Be normal.
Voters can sense when something doesn't add up. They may not follow policy details, read legislation, or understand how committees work, but they absolutely know when the overall feeling is off. People can tell when a message doesn't match the behavior behind it. The moment a party claiming to be normal starts defending things that clearly don't pass a common sense test, that image falls apart. When leaders try to sell the public on ideas that feel obviously unrealistic or out of touch and label them as progress, voters notice. That gap between words and reality is exactly what causes trust to break down. This is the point Bill Maher has been making on Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO, and it's a fairly simple one. He isn't pretending one side is flawless while the other is pure evil. Instead, he's pointing out a basic political truth. Most swing voters and moderates aren't looking for a revolution. They want a society that works. They want to feel safe walking down the street. They want to shop in stores without everyday items locked behind glass like luxury goods. They want schools that focus on teaching kids how to read, write, and do math, rather than piling on lessons that feel disconnected from real-world needs. The strongest part of his argument comes down to leadership. Leadership isn't just standing at a podium or repeating approved talking points. It's about setting boundaries. It's about being willing to say no to the most extreme or unrealistic demands coming from your own side. When a leader clearly pushes back against the worst ideas in their coalition, that's not betrayal, it's maturity. It shows the public that they are capable of governing and not being dragged around by the loudest voices on social media who mistake
It's not too late for Kamala Harris to do what many have been calling for her to do since she became the candidate. Have a sister soldier moment. And if you weren't around in 1992, let me tell you what a sister soldier moment means. It's when you earn cred with the middle-of-the-road voters by standing up to an extremist in your own coalition. For Bill Clinton in 1992, that was a notorious rapper. No, not him. No, Sister Souljah, whose music is not much remembered, but her words are. After the LA riots in 92, she said, "If there are any good white people, I haven't met them." Now, in fairness, she had just come out of Williams-Sonoma.
Remember how all of this started to spiral out of control? Suddenly, looting wasn't looting anymore. It became justice shopping. Think about that for a second. Picture being a small business owner, watching your shelves empty while someone online insists it's all part of some complicated socio-economic performance art. The issue isn't empathy, it's the constant renaming of reality so nobody has to admit when an idea is simply bad. Regular people don't live in seminar rooms. They live in neighborhoods where actions have consequences. And the same goes for experiments like let's stop enforcing basic laws. When authorities signal that shoplifting isn't going to be punished, it doesn't just affect potential criminals. It sends a warning to everyone else that the adults have left the building. The cashier, the parent shopping with kids, the worker juggling 2 jobs, they all feel like they're on their own. This isn't theoretical. It becomes daily life, and it changes how people vote. Intentions don't win elections. Results and how people feel do. And right now, the feeling is, my city is falling apart, and the people in charge are lecturing me for noticing. Then there's the corporate side. We've entered an era where companies compete to see who can put on the most dramatic DEI performance without cringing themselves to death. You open an app to order a burger, and suddenly you're asked to acknowledge your positionality. Meanwhile, most customers aren't raging bigots. They're just tired of being scolded by organizations that can't even deliver basic service. Treat people like suspects and don't be surprised when they walk or vote somewhere else. And then there's education, which is where the frustration hits another level. Standardized testing started being treated like some kind of cursed relic, a symbol of systemic oppression. Meanwhile, parents and teachers are left wondering how to keep schools functioning while navigating this wave of theory over practice. People just want schools that teach reading, writing, and math, not endless debates about hidden agendas in a SpongeBob episode. When basic responsibilities get wrapped in ideology, normal life suffers, and voters notice.
In 2020, the left got a little carried away. Carried away, like most of the merch at this shoe store. Get it, carried away? Once in a while, they need a Looting was rebranded as justice shopping. We stopped arresting shoplifters. Anti-racist baby was a bestseller. Corporations took DEI to ludicrous lengths. We opened our hearts to all who wanted to come here, and then also our borders. Portland decriminalized all drugs, and Seattle set up a no-cop zone until they had to reverse course on both. Standardized testing was dropped until schools saw how dumb that was.
And yes, standardized tests aren't perfect. Yes, teaching strictly to the test can be frustrating and even pointless at times. But here's the part that's really counterproductive. Acting like measuring academic progress is automatically oppressive. Then acting shocked when learning gaps skyrocket and no one can explain why. Because, congratulations, you just threw out the tools that actually tell you what's happening. You don't reduce inequality by closing your eyes and pretending everyone is fine. You do it by identifying who's falling behind and taking real steps to help them catch up. Bill Maher pointed to the situation in Chicago, and no matter what your politics are, the numbers on the ground are alarming. Too many kids can't read at grade level. Absenteeism is through the roof. And in response, Some people shrug it off with slogans or post confusing social media threads that pretend to explain it instead of addressing the reality. These are children, real human beings with only one childhood and one chance to build the foundational skills they need. Compassionate policy isn't about intentions or good feelings. It's about results. If a policy leaves kids less educated, less capable, and less ready for life outside school, then it's not compassionate. It's neglectful. Full stop.
And yet, the head of the teachers union in Chicago still maintains that testing is, quote, junk science rooted in white supremacy. And her union tweeted during COVID, when many Americans felt we could have gotten back to normal sooner, that the push to reopen schools is rooted in sexism, racism, and misogyny. No, it was rooted in reading, writing, and arithmetic. The teaching of which is apparently job none in Chicago because only about 1 in 4 students in the city are proficient in either math or English, and absenteeism is off the charts.
And here's the point Maher is really driving at, one that a lot of people hesitate to say out loud. Some of these woke educational frameworks end up being unintentionally insulting to the very students they are meant to help. Take the idea that expecting students to meet academic standards is somehow racist. Think about what that really says. It assumes some kids can't reach the bar, so the bar should just be lowered for them. That's not fairness or equity. It's condescension dressed up in moral language. If the goal is to genuinely empower students, you don't do it by removing expectations. You do it by providing the right resources, support, and structure while still maintaining high standards. That's how you show kids that you believe in their potential. That's how you set them up to succeed. Not by assuming they can't meet the challenge, but by giving them what they need to rise to it.
But I also think Kamala Harris could have a moment if she trotted out her favorite phrase and said, let me be very clear. Our schools need to do better. Our kids need to be in school, and when they're there, they need to have the phones off and the brains on, learning the basic things we used to teach. And the idea that testing is rooted in white supremacy is in itself a racist belief that says black children can't compete with white children on tests, which they surely can.
But what ended up taking over was a culture where criticizing anything, even a small misstep, makes you the enemy. Cancel culture, purity tests, walking on eggshells, the kind of environment where one badly phrased sentence, one poorly timed joke, one innocent question, or even one small mistake can make you the target of digital public shaming. Every political side has its mob tendencies, of course, but the left really leaned into this idea that punishing people equals progress. So here's a question Maher is raising. Is the biggest problem really the activist wing and the fear confronting it? Or is that too simple, and there's a deeper issue no one is talking about? I want to hear your take. Type it out like your keyboard depends on it. And if you're here for more honest, no-nonsense breakdowns of politics, you know the drill. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one.